Howdy, everybody. So I've got a little bit of exciting news for you when it comes to Notion. They just released this past week Notion charts. And really what this is if you've used Excel, you're able to take that tabular data and you're able to turn it into these pretty graphs, right? Okay, so we've grown up with this at this point. Excel, to some extent, makes things look pretty when we need them to. So I got really, really excited when Notion announced this. And I'll tell you right away, I dived in because my biggest complaint about Notion is that it's not pretty. And if I can see things in prettier ways, then it makes the graphic designer in me happy. Now, what I discovered is not all that exciting. I'm going to be quite frank about it. So let's talk about the limitations. We all know that I'm not big on subscriptions, and Notion has made a weird choice of making charts available, but only one chart is available for a free account. And if I thought that this was going to change someone's business model, or if this was going to be new and enlightening, I might suggest going to get the paid version of Notion. And that pains me to even think that. Well, good news, it's not worth it. So those of you who are on free plans, you get one chart. It's currently in beta. I've been in touch with Notion and I've asked, once it leaves beta and goes into general circulation, it will only be one chart for free accounts. Why? I honestly don't know. It doesn't feel like that should be a paywall thing, but they've made that decision. But again, good news, I don't think it's worth it, which is a little bit disheartening because, again, I am all over let's make things pretty. So I do want to show you what the charts can do, just so you get an idea of how you might want to use it. Now, if you're on a paid plan, you can have multiple charts, but I wanted to focus on if I could only make one chart, what would be the chart I'd want to do? And I went through my entire Notion dashboard, which is identical to the Business Hub. And I played here, I played there. I wanted to see what made the most sense to me. And realistically, there were three areas that stood out that I might be interested in knowing something that I would like to see in a graph. And of course, because everything boils down to money, the first thing I wanted to do was look at accounting. So I created these two charts. I have a paid plan. And I wanted to see what it would show me. So you're getting to see my raw numbers, full transparency. I'm all in. Okay, so here's my expense chart. And you can see down here, it's only showing me categories that I have actually spent money in. And that for me is interesting because I like to see where my money is going. Most of the time, I want to see how I can get things cheaper. So this gives me a nice little visual. Well, what I realized is I spend more money on advertising and marketing, and I'm now kind of curious, what am I paying money for in this regard? So that might be something that I can do a little bit of investigation. Now, over here, my contractors, which are my cover artists and my editor, which these numbers aren't quite accurate because I'm about a month behind on updating, and my editor needs a paycheck. So these numbers will be drastically different in the next month. But seeing that this is at 38%, I almost feel, okay, I'm on the right track. These are the two things that I'd like to be spending the most money on. But what is this third? Office supplies. What am I spending so much money on in office supplies? 13%. And now I can go in and I can look at my table, and I could even group it by expense, which is what I've done here. So let's go take a quick gander at office supplies and see where I'm spending money. Okay. You can see my domains fall under office supplies. My Story Origin account, my BookFunnel account, all of that, my MailerLite, all falls under office supplies. Okay, now that I know that, okay, that makes some good sense on expenses. So website, I'd like to take that down a little bit, which I actually have. So I am trying to make sure my money is going where I want to. And this is just another way of seeing that. But again, I also have it grouped by expense here. So is it worth it? So because I know some people are going to be interested in this, I do want to show you how I have created this table, and you can freeze this video right here. And everything you need to make this happen is right here. So what to show, expense category, each slice represents the expense category, sort low, high to low, and then filters, just so you can see it. I have my filters narrowed down to this year. So let's just see what it looks like if I do last year. Okay, so you can see my budget has been drastically getting altered, and I'm shrinking some categories, which is what I've actively been trying to do this year. So that for me can be helpful. Now, the other thing, and this is the one I think I would actually recommend for a lot of people, is seeing your income. Now, we have all these income sources down here, and what I think is interesting, let's say you're in KU, let's turn off all these other sources. Now I'm just left with Amazon. There's one on there somewhere. What is this? Oh, affiliate. I don't. There it is. Okay, so now I'm left with just Amazon income. So I can see that Amazon.com is 85% of my income. Okay. And then I'm always curious what number 2 and 3 are. UK is number 3. And again, these numbers are all slightly skewed because I haven't been keeping up with my input. I know I am a bad business person by doing that. I'll update it next week. Amazon.ca. Oh, so Canada's my number 3. Well, and then Germany is my number 4. I would have thought Germany would have been higher up. And so knowing that, I think helps me make some decisions on where I might want to put my advertising dollar. So for me, this is a big deal. Now, I also like seeing the overall. So my direct sales have actually been coming in and making a chunk of my income. 10% isn't anything to sneeze at. So knowing this makes me happy. So again, I'm going to show you the way I've created this, and you can freeze this and copy it right off my screen. Income source, each slice represents the income source, some high to low, and then I have set my filter again for date this year. So feel free to freeze and copy at your leisure. All right, so the one last thing that I thought, what might someone want a graph for? Now, this for me is more, I'm just being nosy and curious to see what it would look like in a graph. I wanted to do a bar graph based off my writing, and I have it set to each month. So I do not use Notion to track my writing. So that's why these numbers look really wonky, like I haven't written in a while. But you can see in January, I went up 1,700, and then it looks like I didn't write until May. Then it went up, and then it went up again in June. I just don't put my word counts into Notion, so take this with a grain of salt. But if I was, we would see a steady incline as we crept closer and closer to my desired number, and I have mine set to 365,000 a year. So we would see it steadily moving up in that direction. So for me, this is one of those, like, it's cool to see, but it won't change anything about my business. But if you want to copy this, here's how you can do it. Show date by month. I tried it by day. It's the numbers become so tiny I couldn't see them, so I grouped it by month. And then old to new, what to show, the written sum, and then I have no filters on right now. So you could do this as well. So what is the takeaway out of this? I don't want to harp on it. Right now, they're only allowing you to have one graph per workspace. That's extremely limiting. The other thing that I've noticed is if you look at my word count, I would like to see what my word count should be at this point with a side-by-side bar, so what the real number is and what it should be. Right now, it does not have that ability to bring in multiple data points. So for me, the graph's a nice step in the right direction, but we need some heft, some more control, some more flexibility before I think it reaches a point where I get really excited for using it. So for the moment, it's a fun tool. I don't think it's overly useful yet. So I will keep you updated as they expand on it, and I'm sure they will by the time it is in mass release. All right, so if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I will answer everything I can, but otherwise, get back to writing at this point. All right, take care.